All right, everybody. Welcome back to all my listeners. This is episode 17 in season 12. Today is Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. My name is Sonal Patel, and this is the Paint the Medical Picture podcast series. Now, all right, you guys, today's Newsworthy, I'm going to be rolling out that red carpet once again for another spotlight series on my guests. And today I'm going to be welcoming Yesenia Servin, and we're going to be talking about her journey. We're going to unpack all of it. And of course, my trusty tips and my trusty tip recommendations are going to be peppered throughout our conversation today. Now, this episode is sponsored by Advanced Coding Services. Advanced Coding Services. Educate, nurture, inspire. Reaching back with a hand up. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, here she is. Here is my good friend, Yesenia Servin. She is back again. We are just discussed offline that I had brought her onto the podcast a couple of years ago when all of the bells and whistles, all of the great new features that StreamYard offers wasn't available to me way back then. So here she is. I'm so happy to see her here with my audience. Once again, Yesenia Servin. Welcome, my friend. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to see you. I'm excited to be with you and your members. I know you have a beautiful following and very supportive following. I love to see that. So I'm excited to be with y'all today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've been so happy to see you, pushing the boundaries as well, doing your tip videos that we see from time to time on LinkedIn, where you just talk about something new that's been released or some hot new issue that you want the people to be aware of. So that's a hot new thing that I've been watching you do. And I think that's really, really great for the industry, right? Because when I brought you on a couple years ago, the industry wasn't really that savvy with video stuff and technology stuff, right? And that was just 2 years ago, right? And flash forward, here we are in, August of 2024. And the people are hungry for video, right? We even see our doctors, our APPs with their own TikTok channels and feeds, and they're celebrating, acting, a bit silly, all in the name of healthcare to help people understand, some health condition or some insurance issue or whatever it is that we talk about, right? Video seems to really capture audiences. So I think it's a really great thing that I brought you back on today so we can all see your lovely face and hear about today your journey. Because I know a couple years ago, we did not talk about your past, where you came from. Did you happen to have a transition in your career like I did once upon a time? Because I think it's really important for the newer people who are definitely trying to enter the healthcare sector in one way or the other. It's really important for people to realize that the way you and I did things a minute ago, right, are going to be different than the way these people today, newer folks who are, trying to enter healthcare or they're trying to transition into healthcare from something else. It's really good for experienced folks like ourselves to really talk about, the myriad of ways that people do things. And it's really important to embrace our past and our journey, right? And celebrate it. So I would really love for you to share with the audience, where exactly you came from. I think we'll just start right there, right? Where did Yesenia come from back then?
I love it. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share. I do want to share I am a Leo, so I do love things to be about me.
Nice. I love that. I love it. So a raging Leo. Love it.
So I just appreciate that question a lot. Back in 1995, I got married really young. So as soon as I got married, I went to school. Thankfully, my husband paid for my schooling. I did business management. I did accounting. Then I told him, oh, you know what? I want to do computers. There's this new thing called Microsoft, and I really want to learn it. Do you remember?
I
I was
do remember.
like,
Yes, I
we
do
thought we
remember
were
those
grown up
days.
because we were going to learn it. We're like, oh,
I
I get
know.
to be like a grown up on a computer and work on
Yep.
it every day. I remember that.
Yes.
So did all of that. I worked for an allergist back in 1995 in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And we still had the paper client files with that little math checklist.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
they paid this much. Next time they owe this much, all
Yep.
penciled in there.
Yep.
So we didn't even use a calculator. We had to use our brain.
Yep.
And that doctor really loved me. He's like, Yesenia, you're so quick with this math. Like, you know, like if adding 100 plus 20 was so difficult back then. Because it wasn't the numbers that we see now either. Dollar, right? The numbers were much different. So it all started there. I really enjoyed it because whatever he would throw at me, I would be excited. I'm like, oh, I get to learn this part of it now. It's like, oh, you're working with Medicaid. What does that look like? And this is what the Medicaid card looks like. And this is where you call. And then in 97, I started working for a durable medical equipment company. So completely different from
totally different.
An allergist, right?
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
And for them, I was doing everything like dispatching, billing, administrative work, telling the drivers, you know, hey, there's these orders, you know, like it was like one of those mom and pop shops that we actually, before we even had a van, the driver would deliver DME via the CTA. So via the public transportation. He'd take this DME with him, drop it off at the hospital, come back to the warehouse and go down, you know, it was so like grassroots that I loved it. So I just loved that whole part. Now that same organization is in 7 different states, has 400 vehicles, right? So completely different. But it started there when the owner was like, Yesenia, you're good at all these things. Figure out how we can join Medicare. We want to join Medicare. We want to join Medicaid. We want to join these insurance, you know, so that's when I started to really delve into like insurance contracts and understanding Medicare. And I absolutely loved it. Just loved it. And I think because it was a very like mom and pop shop, it felt very family. So it felt really good to say like, okay, I need more. This is not enough, right? So they're like, okay, let's do AP, let's do AR. So they were the kind of people that wanted you to grow and were like happy when you said, let's do more. Let's figure this out, right? Really, really loved them. But after 10 years, I was like, okay, I think I've gone as far as I can go here. Like I need to do more of this. So I started to work with community mental health centers, independent practitioners. I worked for a health plan, a worldwide health plan in Chicago. Absolutely loved that.
Wow.
Not only the work, but then we were right on the lake. So who doesn't
love that? I know. Lake Michigan, that blue, it's gorgeous. Yes.
Even in the winter, you're like.
Even in the winter,
right.
It really is mesmerizing. Yes.
And I worked for several large hospital systems in Chicago, some of the most recognized. Absolutely loved it, right? Obviously, there's things that you don't love about it. There's a lot of red tape everywhere you go, and when the bigger the system. But I truly, truly enjoyed it. But then when we had that pandemic, which is, I think, when you and I like had our last session.
Yes, that's right.
We had a lot of conversations about what the world was looking like in our industry.
Yeah.
So 2019, I decided to go full force on my own private practice or my own private business because from that whole time, I would say from 2007 till present, practitioners were like, Yesenia, I'm leaving this group practice. I'm leaving this health system. Help me start my own business. Help me start my own clinic. Help me start my own group. Like my goal is to start myself as a PCP, but then I want to bring on NPs. I want to bring on PAs. I want to bring on a social worker. You know, I had these providers who had beautiful visions. And I think, you know, for both of us, we've talked about how we love being around that type of provider. They're really working hard to make our world a better place, right? Like they want to serve and they're sick of a lot of the red tape. They're sick of it. Or if they're not sick of it, they're like, you know, all this red tape, please figure it out for me.
Please fix it. Please remove it for me. Yes. Right.
So I think partnering with those providers really inspired me because I was like, I want to help you because you're really helping our communities. You're helping my family. You're helping my friends. That's right. So I definitely want to partner with practitioners like that. So 2019, when a lot of practitioners thought, like, I don't know what to do now with telehealth. What does that mean? What do the rules say? What is the laws? Like, they had no idea. So they would say, Yesenia, you have to help me.
Yeah.
So that's how like I was like, okay, this has to be full time now. This can't be my side hustle anymore. Although I love the health systems and I really liked that security of having, you know, a big employer behind you.
Right.
I just knew that I had to do it because
yeah,
basically, you know, when the world or God, however you feel about it, is telling you this is the way to go now. So I went for it and have been very busy ever since. Now I have a team of 11, you know, all US based reps. And one of the biggest things that I really enjoy, Sonal, is giving them the flexibility with their schedule. Most of them are parents or caregivers. So they're taking care of, you know, their parents or another adult in their life. So they have the flexibility of 9 to 2, Monday through Friday versus a 9 to 5, right?
Good.
Because they want to be there to do breakfast. They want to be there for pickups. They want to be there for dinner.
Yeah.
So that's one of the models that I always strive for, because as a parent in my time, and I don't know if you experienced this, it was very strict. Like if you had to leave, they'd be like, oh, but why? You know, like it was, even if they did allow it, you could see that they were annoyed that you had asked. Like, my kid has an event, my kid has a sports thing, I really want to get to it this time, I've missed the last two. But it was always this awkward tension of having to ask, and still like, you know, it just didn't feel good. And now I'm like, I don't want my team to feel that. I want my team to be like, oh, it's 2, I can go, I can get my kid, I can enjoy the summer. You know, like I wanted them to have the liberty and flexibility to say, I love my job, but I also love my family and I can't risk missing that time with them. So that's been one of the biggest blessings, is that I have that team that's been very receptive, and they work so hard for our providers. They work really, really hard from that 9 to 2. 2:01, they're like running. I'm like, I got to get my kids. I got to get my mom to the appointment. I got to get my dad here. You know, so I love that part of it. One of the things that I wanted to share today, though, is that I've recently had, I would say, 2 big situations, right? We've had a lot of contracts that we love. Providers, like I mentioned, they're doing the right thing. And then we've had a provider that doing the right thing, starting a big practice, beautiful goals and dreams, but we just are not connecting, right? Here's the checklist, here's the contract, here's everything we need to help you be successful. And, you know, being the right kind of communicator, meshing well with leadership is truly important. But sometimes, despite how much effort and how much techniques and tools you've used to communicate the points, it doesn't always work. And so there can be a rupture. There can be like, Yesenia, thanks, but no thanks. Like, I've told you these 5 things. I'm not giving you an IRS letter. I already told you I'm not calling. I don't have it. I'm not calling. Figure it out. Right. So there comes to a point when you're like, okay, I think you're right. I think we are not connecting correctly for some reason or another. You have a beautiful goal set for this community. You're going to serve in so many beautiful ways, and we can't be a part of that. So it's painful and it's a loss, but there's also has to be a line when you're like, if I can't help them be successful, I have to walk away, right? There's no other way. Even if you've tried it, you've reached out to other people and said, hey, I've tried this, I've provided a visual, I've given a list, I've had multiple meetings, we still can't move past this particular obstacle. And so then in that situation, you have no choice, right? But to move on. And you could probably hear it in my voice, it's still pretty painful because it feels like a failure. It feels like, wait, am I as smart as I thought I was, or am I not as smart as I thought? Right. So almost like when you were young and you liked somebody and they didn't like you back, you're like, wait, we're not that great. So kind of like that. So that's been a little bit difficult and been an interesting learning curve, but, you know, trying to get past it and move on. There's been other situations where practitioners are not as forthcoming as they should be, right? So
Mhm.
like discovering things that you should have known ahead of time, those are
Right.
difficult too.
Right.
Thankfully, once you have, and I think that's more of like an embarrassment thing, right? Like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
embarrassed to share this. I'd really like to hold this back. But, you know,
Right.
in our world, we have to disclose everything. We don't
That's
want to
right.
hold anything back. We're telling Medicare, we're telling all these networks that we're attesting information is 100% correct, and we don't want to
Right.
lie, right? And
Right. Right.
there is sometimes a little bit of shame to that. So building that relationship with those practitioners and that leadership so that they can give that to you and that you can work together and not have them feel like you don't understand why they didn't want to share, or you don't understand that there's still a little bit of shame in it, right?
Right.
So that has been also a great learning curve, and it's so again, I keep saying that it's so nice to work with those practitioners that are really trying to make everything better for all of us, because then you can really build strong trust between each other.
Yes.
One of the other challenges that I've recently encountered, and I don't want this to be like a sad fest, but I want it to be more like we go through so many things, right? On our
We
journey.
do.
And I want to
Yep.
tell you some of like, you know, I've had great joys, but I've had some struggles as well. So one of the other things has been staff transitioning. That's so difficult, right? And then again, it
Right.
makes you feel like, what else can I do? What am I not doing correctly? How can I build up this person? Or how did I, on my side, think I am building up someone, and in the end, they're like, I absolutely can't stand this, right?
Yeah.
Like I absolutely
Right. Right.
hate these contracts. I absolutely hate these applications. I don't like the billing portion of it. I can't stand it.
Mhm.
So I try to be from the very beginning. Listen, if you hate this, I will not be upset by it. I want you to love what you do. I want you to wake up and be like, I can't wait to help Dr. Smith. I can't help
Right.
Dr. Patel. Like I want you to feel encouraged,
Mhm.
you know, that you're learning something new, that you're not going to be bored. And I've had you know, we all have a lot of friends, but I have friends who are management in retail spaces. And so I've referred to, and then those people thrive in that space, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they didn't work for me, but I don't want them to feel like we're broken up, it's over forever. No, like I
Right.
want them to be happy. Like
That's right.
one of the girls was actually so honest. She's like, this is just, I can't sit at a desk. I can't. She's like, even if it's 9 to 2, I just can't sit at a computer. I'm like, okay, so what are the things that you'd like to do? She's like, I really want to get back into retail. And I was like, perfect. Let me talk to someone.
Yeah.
She has been with that family business that's retail for a whole year already.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, in Logan Square. So you know
Yeah,
Chicago.
I know Chicago. Yeah.
She
It's
absolutely
fantastic.
loves it. And the manager, who's a really close friend of mine, she's like, this girl thrives here. Like she's good at it. This is the right place. So, you know, even having those connections that are not in their industry, because you want those team members to be happy. So originally it was, and even still, I'm not going to say it used to be, it's still kind of painful to hear that from staff, but then I want to be like, okay, I want to be like the cool lady that's like, let me help you figure this out. Because I was in your shoes and I was like, I like medicine. I don't know what part of it. I wish I would have had more guidance, but you know, everything works out in the end. And for me, thankfully it has. So I want to be that connector where someone says, I can't sit at this desk. I can't look at another credentialing application. And I can be like, okay, let's talk about what you do like. Let's go from there and see how it works. Can you give me 2 more weeks until we transition?
Right.
But I think I've talked to people like you and more like you and I, Sonal, and they have the same issue. Like, how do I keep my team? Like, I'm paying them well. Like, you know, in my particular community in Berwyn, the minimum wage is $13 an hour. Obviously, I'm not close to that at all, right? I want people to have a livable wage. I want people to like their job and like coming to work. So it's not just a wage issue anymore, which I think most people always thought like, just pay them more and they'll stay. Just no, you know, I want them to really thrive and be in an environment where they're happy. You know, we do bagels, ice cream social, like we do a lot to stay happy together. We have an obsession with cute office supplies.
Cute.
So we do a lot of cute, you know, and I want people to enjoy all of that and be part of it and want to be part of it. So that's why it can be a little bit painful when people are like, this is not for me. I can't be on this team anymore.
Yeah.
But it's remembering, Yesenia, I know you're a Leo, but it's not about you. It's about what's the best thing for them, what'll make them thrive, what would help them build a great, life for themselves, whether they go to Chicago, go to retail, go to the food industry, wherever they may fall, wherever they may land. So that's been a couple of struggles that I've had. And, you can tell that I'm still a little bit emotional about it, but it's fine. We all, everything ends up okay.
That's right. Now, I was listening to you talk about your entire journey, right? And let's just start from the end there. I hear leadership in your voice, right? You hear a little bit of the bittersweet. I hear the leader that you've become, right? Over all of these years worth of vast experience in the different arenas that you tiptoed in, right? Starting from allergy, then into DME suppliers, then into the big shot hospitals here in downtown, right? And you're absolutely right. There are pros and cons to all of those spaces. And I think you took away quietly, probably without recognizing it, but I'm going to tell you now that when I hear you talk about you and your own company that you started up in 2019, you quietly took away all those pieces of the fabric from all of those different places that you were working at. And you took that to heart, right? Like, how do you stay happy? Then when you build your own team, how do you make that team stay? How do you make them happy where they are? But then you also need to embrace them because you're a leader, right? And if they have the trust with you and share with you, well, this is not the right fit for me. I can't really be here at the desk. I'm not shining. I just don't feel like I can shine here at a desk, right? And I think that's what good leaders do is they have to listen to their employees and help them find where they can transition to, right? Because that they're a great person, they're a great employee, but they themselves are not fulfilled, right? So I think it takes a leader to be able to help propel that employee to their next stepping stone, right? Where will they land for the best fit for that person? So that's what I hear at the end there when you were talking, is that you were able to listen to them and help them succeed, right? Into that retail space, just for example. But I agree. You and I know so many people, yes, in this healthcare space, but we also know so many other people that thrive elsewhere, that do other services for people like you and I, right? We have just a wealth of people with a variety of strengths, right? The resume writers. I know I've shared that before. I wish I had the resume team behind me when I made my transition, right? I've shared this, I don't know how many times, because it makes me look foolish. And I don't mind that, because back in the very old days, yes, I might not look very old, but I am. Back in the old days, there was no resume writing service to help me go, hey, Sonal, your resume is from the museum. Your resume is from literature and art and social studies, and nobody cares because you want to join healthcare, right? And I just didn't see it. I had my blinders on. I had no idea. And I had no outside person helping me say, oh, this is beautiful, but not for hospitals, not for private practices, not for the business of medicine, right? So all of those types of people are in our surroundings. We have all the marketing specialists, right? We have all of the retail vendors. We have all of the EMR vendors. We have all of these people on speed dial. And like you were saying, in this second part of our journey, it's all about collaborating. It's all about finding the right partnerships with these amazing providers that you and I know, right? You're absolutely right. I heard you loud and clear when you were like, I want to support these providers because they take care of my community in Berwyn Like they are rock stars. They keep their doors open. They see the patients, right, who need these very critical services. I'm all about that as well. So it's all about finding your purpose, even if it's the same purpose that you've always had. If you're blessed to have that same purpose for the entirety of your lifespan, kudos to you. Wonderful. But the journeys that you've shared with me, um, you know, you've definitely had your footprint in healthcare in some capacity or the other. And you've taken away all the pros and cons from each and every space that you touched and decided to open up your very own, right? And really hone in on your key strengths, your key features, of being the rock star. I've sent you how many people, right, for credentialing. It's not
Thank
my
you.
specialty. I
Right.
don't do it. I have no idea. I know it's hard. I do other things. If I don't know credentialing, I send it your way. I'm like, this is the pro in the industry. Go to Yesenia. Yes, she's in Chicago, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
She can help you no matter where you are in the US, help answer your questions. You can be her newest client. She is completely my trusted resource, without fail. So absolutely, like you've put your nuance in, you've dabbled your toes everywhere, like you have shared, and you found what your niche is. And I think that's a wonderful thing to share with the younger people, right? It's an amazing thing to get into healthcare, but healthcare is gigantic. It
Right.
is, $1 billion industry. It's massive with all of the specialties of providers, all of the various types of facilities, the suppliers, the ambulance, we could go on and on. There's
Mhm.
so much to do in healthcare. So yeah, in the beginning, it's a matter of getting your foot in the door. For you, it was the allergist. For me, it was the medical billing company. Two different approaches. Other people say they did reception. That's great. you know I love talking to a knowledgeable receptionist, right, when they're very helpful and kind and want to share with you, when the next available opening is. Although sadly in this day and age, all of our PCPs don't have openings for like 60 to 90 days.
Right.
It's kind of sad.
Very sad.
But that's just how the industry is working out. I just hung up the phone at around 8 o'clock this morning with that same issue. Is like, how do I get in? Where do I go? Do I
Mhm.
fire this provider for a minute, go find another one? Because I cannot wait for 60 to 95 days. Like, I have a situation, right? And so I was trying to help that person. Like, yes, I think that's probably advisable that you try and find someone else quickly, especially if that doctor's office couldn't even refer you to someone in their group practice, right? And that was the situation.
It's
But
changed
anyway,
so much.
it's
It's
changed
changed.
so much.
Yep.
It's changed so much. And, my father, God bless him, was a physician. He's still here, but, he's retired. He was the internal medicine specialist who had the waiting room full of like 60 patients waiting.
Mhm.
And they just waited, and his office never closed in Cleveland. It was just always open until that waiting room was emptied out. And that was a long time ago, right?
Right.
Waiting rooms just don't look like that,
No.
where they're just jam packed. And they were all seen and happily by Dr. Patel. Times have changed
Yeah.
and work schedule has changed. And of course, the burnout, and stress and fatigue from our providers is now shining. My dad had it then, but there was never a voice. There was never a platform for like, we're all feeling this level of stress. They just sort of kept doing it, kept doing it,
Listen.
kept doing it. And nobody like supported them. So very, very different landscape now. And I'm all about supporting those physicians who are totally burned out, and stressed out, right? That's a big, big thing as well. So I'm really happy that there are people like us in the industry that can do what they can, right, to help take that burden off of them, like credentialing, like compliance, right? We don't expect our physicians to know all of that stuff. They're brilliant. They're well beyond educated for their 10 to 17 years of education in just saving people's lives, right? We can't do that, but we have other strengths that can help support them when they need that type of a partnership, right? So, yeah, I think your journey and where you're at today is remarkable, right? The leadership strengths, like I keep telling you. I think that's where a lot of people end up and get to because of that experience, right? Because of that longevity of a career in different spaces. I think all of that experience helps build you to be stronger, make you to be stronger, want you to be that advocate for your employees, push them, propel them to do more, because you see in them what perhaps they can't even see. I love people like that who come across my path. I'm like, oh my gosh, but you're amazing. You can do so much more because I'm seeing these, 7 different things that I can identify quickly with you in a half an hour call. And I'm like, you're amazing. And they didn't even recognize those 7 things, right? Because when it's you're so far in, you're so zoomed in, it takes that external person to really help spotlight, all of those other key strengths that person couldn't even identify, right? Because they just don't see themselves as that way. So I think you do a lot of that as well with your staff, and the things that you, know that they find value in. And so they share in that trust with you because you have helped support them and their families and celebrate the fact that, yeah, we're allowed to function from 9 to 1, from 9 to 2, based on family dynamics, family structure, right? Like I've hired you knowing this. And I agree with you. In the old days, that was poo-pooed. We felt a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. We felt bad for having a child or 2 or 3. We felt bad for having a parent or 2 who grow old, right? We felt a lot of shame.
It was so stressful.
It was so
stressful at that time. It could have just been an hour early, but it felt horrible to ask for it. I just remember that feeling. I was like, I don't want people to feel like this. Like, I want them to be joyful to go. Like, now I get to see my kid. I get to run my mom to her dialysis, without that weird stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember, walking away from the desk and like you had to use the restroom. And then managers would be like, what took you so long? And you're like, do you really want to know those details? That kind of stress, that kind of, battery was constant. And so I know a lot of folks like that, that eventually had to step away from really otherwise gratifying positions and roles, simply for those, pedantic actions by a supervisor or a manager or whoever that just didn't get it, that just couldn't let it go, and wanted to know why. Yeah, a lot of stress. I agree with you. But hopefully organizations have changed and there's not much more of that battery and, that kind of combative attitude on the employees who are really doing a fantastic job for why they were hired, right? I think that's what a lot of higher levels need to remember, is that you hired those employees for a reason and their purpose, and they're doing a great job for you. So keep that in mind before being so punitive for walking away from the desk for, greater than the whatever 10 minutes that you're allowed, Yeah. So a a lot of good points that we've made today in our conversation. And your journey, I know you could go on and on about each and every position, each and every factor that made you want to pivot and change and move forward, right? But I think I understand that at some point in life you reach a ceiling, right? Like you've hit your limit. And so I think that's why when you start your own business, right, it's yours and you can shape it and you can mold it into the way you want, right? You fashion it the way you would like. Again, based on all of those vast experiences and positions from the places that you were at. So I think that's incredible. I think that's really wise. And so I hope that people who tune in to the podcast today will remember that it's okay. You don't need to start at the very top, right? Like you have time in your journey to savor the experiences. And I think maybe that's what people forget is it's supposed to be a journey, right? You're supposed to savor each and every place that you're at. This door opened for a reason, right? The other one shut for another reason. So people shouldn't feel so let down that, oh my goodness, I was rejected from that ace job that I really, really wanted. It's like, no, that wasn't meant to be.
Right.
So people's mindsets have to shift. Like, yes, even though you were hungry for that position and they shut the door, it's for a reason. Something else is going to open up for you, and embrace that when that door opens.
Absolutely.
Right?
And knowing that you can, feel that sadness for that moment or that period, and then you can move on, like, okay, I can be sad about it for the next hour or 4 hours, and then I'm going to refocus and, reset my energy elsewhere. Yeah. So understanding that you don't have to try to push down that sadness or that, feeling of defeat. But you'll move past it once you've set your time. You're like, okay, I'm going to be sad about it this whole afternoon. Let me get my bucket of ice cream and my popcorn. And then tomorrow it'll be completely different. Right.
That's right. Yeah,
feel it and then keep it moving.
Great advice and great treats. Those are my go-tos as well. Popcorn and ice cream. Yes. Those are my go-tos. Absolutely spot on, right? Feel it, grieve it, and then move on. Absolutely. That's so well said. We're not saying just sweep it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. No, we're saying grieve about it, be sad, but keep fighting. Don't just give up and think, oh my goodness, I need to give up on healthcare because Rush University didn't take me. No, it's okay. Mourn it, but keep applying, keep trying, and keep being feisty, right? Like, do not just give up and quit. Like, people have to persevere if healthcare is something they really, really want. You just have to keep fighting. The right place is going to come to you. We absolutely know it. We've gone through the struggle. We've been rejected. We've been turned down. We've boo-hooed about it in our ice cream with our popcorn splash on top. It happens to literally everybody. You're not alone when you're rejected. It literally happens to everybody. That the right position is going to open up to you. And it's just about you being open to something different, right? Changing that mindset and saying, okay, it's still in healthcare. It's not exactly at Rush University. Again, just hypothetically, I love Rush.
Me too.
I've never applied there. So I'm not saying that I was rejected from Rush. I've not applied there. It's a great hospital. Just as an example, because we're both here in Chicagoland. But, those rejections are tough, but you have to keep fighting. And you have to just look at the next opportunity that does come to you and, weigh all the pros and cons to it and take those interviews, please. Don't just say no because it wasn't your number one hospital or your number one Dr. Patel that you wanted to work with.
Right.
Take the interview, take a chance on yourself, take a chance on the organization, and see what happens. I think that's always a good way to, get practice as well in the interview process. I think that's also very important. That hasn't gone away in 2024. In all of these years, you still have to show your face, even though a lot of positions happen to be remote.
Yeah.
Organizations do want to know who you are, and you can tell a lot about that by a face-to-face encounter. I totally believe that. So yeah,
Absolutely.
you have to be able to put on your face and put on your proper clothes and type up a current resume, not based on your old career, but on the one you want to get into. Right? That's right. That's right, Yesenia. So my goodness, my friend, what on earth do you think you still have left to do on your journey? Where are we going to see you in the future?
We are forever learners. Like people always ask me, Yesenia, what about this? I'm like, call the source. Let's call directly to the source. Every situation is different. Let's get the info. There's constant regulations and standards changing. So let's go directly. So I feel like I'm never bored. We're never bored. There's always a new situation. There's always a new clinic, a new space that's like, oh, we did this and this and this. And it's like, wait, you did what? Okay, let's backtrack and fix this now. So that's one big thing that I love about our industry too, and specifically, credentialing enrollment. And the revenue cycle is that you can never be bored. There's always something new to learn. And that, I think, is one of my biggest reasons why I do it. Obviously, my family, right? I want to be a big support forever until I'm on this earth to my family. But I think it's the never being bored, the always learning, right? And so I feel like I'm good at it. I enjoy it. I want to keep doing it. A lot of what I want to do, and I think we've talked about it in the past, is workforce development, right? I want to build more credentialing and enrollment experts. I want to be able to have part of my organization be the workforce development. So I want to find partners that can help me do that. That's a vision that I've had for a while. It's one of those things, again, that gnaws at me. The same like with the beginning, where it's like, you have no other option. You keep hearing this. This keeps coming back to you because, God has put it in you. The universe has put it out there for you. That keeps pushing you towards that way. So that's a big piece that I really want to work on. I want to focus on. I have friends who know how to write a business plan, who, they're like, Yesenia, let's do it. Like, here's what we can do. Here's the bylaws for it. Here, so I love, like we keep mentioning, we have those people around us, those experts in every industry that can be like, okay, I see your goal. I share in your goal. I see your vision. Let's go for it. Here's the steps. So that's a big piece that I really, really would like to focus on the next 5 years. I still enjoy going to all the conferences and meeting people in person. Ever since we've gotten to do that again, we're back in person, I feel like everyone's re-energized because we're together again. We're learning and training in person again. It feels so good. So I love that we still have that opportunity to visit all those conferences and really get to grow together and learn together and network and have some tea together, have some gossip together in person, so all of those pieces are things that really are helping me thrive, helping me grow. And I want to keep pushing towards that way. I like when I can partner with you, when I tell you, hey, my doctor in Texas is seeing this, and I don't know anything about coding. I don't know anything about, you give me all these different codes. I'm like, okay, I don't know this, but here, you talk to the doctor, give them. So I love those partnerships too, where you and I can both come and help a clinic or a practice or an ASC together because they had all their coding backwards, or they had coding from when they started back in 99, right? Like, okay, let's this, right? It's not the same. It's not even the same book. It's not even the same list anymore. I know who to call. Here it is. So those collaborations also make me thrive because it just feels like you have a partner that understands the provider and that can help them from an angle that you have no clue about. But that this partner also has that provider's best interest at heart, right? you will know, like, Yesenia, I got your doctor. Don't worry. This Ohio practice or this Illinois whoever it may be, you're always like, okay, let me review this. Let me see how I can help. And so that always gives me great satisfaction to partner with you and others who are like, I completely get it. I know why this doctor is doing what they're doing. I know why this nurse practitioner is doing what they're doing. And you have your expertise in it, and I'll have mine expertise in it. So I love those collaborations as well. So I think there's opportunity in that workforce development to continue collaborating, right? Like, I know this, that I could train people and give them a strong foundation in credentialing and enrollment, but I know you'll give them this other compliance piece, the coding piece, the documentation piece. I know you'll build that in people. So as you can tell, I'm very excited about this workforce development goal.
I love it.
I think we'll continue working and collaborating together even when that piece happens.
Yep.
And so I'm very, very happy that that's a big portion of my future path. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for my children seeing me, that I keep thriving and growing, because I want them to feel that about their careers and their career paths, right? So that's always an important piece for them to see how excited I am, how beneficial it is to our family. My kids are grown, right? My son is 26, my daughter's 20. But I still want them to feel that excitement, so that they know, okay, when I'm quote unquote old, we're very young. We look young. We're still very young.
That's
40s
right.
is very young. But when you were in your 20s, you're like, oh, 47. Oh,
I know.
You feel
like,
that's
what?
so far away. And so I want to really, even when I'm as old as my mom, I could still be excited about my career, right? Even if I'm an old person like my mother, there's still a lot to learn, a lot to grow, a lot to be excited about.
Oh, that's wonderful, Yesenia. Absolutely. I see your vision, your 5-year plan coming to life. I love collaborating with you. I definitely think this workforce development idea of yours needs to happen in 5 years. I'm all about it. I totally support it. You are the person to grow the next wave of credentialing specialists. And you're right, they are very limited throughout the country. They are few and far between, right? So I love your idea. I love your newfound creation. It's going to happen. I'm very positive in these next 5 years. I love it. I think the nation needs it. I think it's something that our providers really, really need, right? Because that's the most critical starting point of them entering into their practices, right? For them to bill anything out, they have to be properly credentialed and enrolled with the payers. So your niche expertise is vital. So your passion that we all heard here is evident, and your passion is going to help this vision come to life in these next 5 years. I'm all about it. I totally support it. Whatever I can do to help you get it off the ground. I think it's an incredible thing. And I agree with you. It needs to happen in your 5-year plan. I think it's great.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's incredible, the work and commitment that you foresee in your future, again, right? Because your purpose is for your family. Like, that's why you do it. This passion is there for your family. You want your kids to see, hey, mama can do it all, right? Mama is still young at heart. Age doesn't matter, right? That knowledge is still there. We are forever learning. It's always continuing education, continued learning forever and ever, because healthcare is always changing, right? Yeah, that doctor with his code book from 1999, that's a problem, right? That's why you come to me like a 2024 book and new codes. They've since been changing 1999, right? But you're right. You're not exaggerating.
And it is funny to see that book in their office.
I know, it's
Yeah,
terrible.
no, it's funny to see the
I
book. It's like ICD-9. Why do you have this ICD-9
Yeah,
in
and
here?
you're like, what? Those codes don't exist. Like, how are those claims even going out the door, right? Like, they should be
Right. What are you
stopped right
doing?
away. Yeah, hilarious. But yes, I see the same thing. Oh my goodness. But yeah, Yesenia, I'm very happy. I want to see this 5-year goal come to fruition. I'm very, very happy. Now, before we go, can I share with the audience? I know I shared it a few years ago, but I'm going to share it today as well. Your LinkedIn way that the
Yes, I love when
audience can
people
get in
connect with
touch
me.
with you. Yeah, let the people connect with you on LinkedIn. So please find her here at this
Yep.
LinkedIn address for Yesenia's personal LinkedIn page. And then also please connect with her on her website and look at her services for credentialing at her company and how you can partner with yscredentialing.com. Fantastic. I know she and I have collaborated over these years together, and she's spot on. Always very diligent, always very thorough, and always very successful for her providers. So I hope that's a good shout out, 5-star review here for yscredentialing.com.
Same. I can say the same with you for sure.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, Yesenia. Well, I cannot wait to have you back, my friend, and I want the people to know all about your expertise the next time we speak on credentialing, your niche. Yeah, so much more we can unpack together, I know. So I want to thank you today for all of your time with me in this conversation. Absolutely, Yesenia. So I will see you soon, my friend, okay?